Welcome to the BoyFriends podcast, where we help you find your circle
and your man.
I'm Jarrod D King, and I am joined by my co-host Renee, and we are also rejoined by a fan favorite, Mama Shay. How's it going?
Going good, thanks.
Good. It's good to have you back. So why don't you let everyone know like what's been going on in your world and what's up?
Just started a new job recently, and moving up through the ranks a little faster than I thought, which is fine. It's great. And I just got invited to Florida next month to do some strategy for the company, company-wide. Okay.
So Renee, what has been going on with you since we last recorded? I think we recorded last week. Was
the
it?
week after,
or the week before?
Week before last.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, everything's been going fine with me. Again, just being super boring, just, living my life, trying to live my best healthy life. I got scared of monkeypox and stopped going to the gym, so I've been working out at home a lot more. Been really getting into bar workouts and, just hanging out with my animals and getting back into reading because it's been so long since I've really sat down and read a book, and I don't know. I feel like Netflix and like Hulu have just like not been giving lately, and so I'm getting back into books and staring less at screens, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean it's good to get back into books, but I will say I don't know. I recently watched that show Uncoupled. Have you watched it? I liked it.
I need to watch that. I'll watch that today.
Not even necessarily a Neil Patrick fan. I just
Uh-huh.
But that was the cutest show ever. I thought
it was very cute. I thought it was cute. Anyway, but yeah, that was part of my last couple of weeks was, watching Netflix. I had a tennis tournament that I went to. I did okay. I mean, I think I held my own. And there's another one in October that I'll be doing that's here in Philly. So I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully I can do a little bit better. What's dating life going like for you guys? Is anything happening? No? Okay.
No, nothing's happening. Like I think I said this last time, right? I've been feeling like a little desperate for a relationship, which makes me realize that I know that I shouldn't be looking for a relationship right now, because then I'll have my blinders on for like any red flag. So I need to be more at peace with just being single, and then I'll kind of dive back in when I'm a little bit, less looking for that man.
It's interesting, like for me, like, and we have discussed, and I've told both of y'all, like I've had like some bad luck recently in dating. And I don't know. I mean, I think like I remember watching something on YouTube where they were like, ask your friends who have been in relationships, like, what their advice would be or something like that.
I feel like they always have shitty advice though.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes it's like nobody really knows. But like, I mean, I guess, well, I don't know. I'll ask you, because I know you have been in a long-term relationship before. Like, what do you think caused your significant other then to commit to you long-term, or at least to say, hey, I think I'll stick with this person? What do you think that decision was?
It wasn't a good one. I'll say that much. I wish I had outside knowledge, or I wish I was a little bit wiser when it happened. But he basically needed someone light-skinned to marry.
Oh, okay.
I was not his type, which is why he cheated throughout the entire marriage.
Wait, back up. Wait, what?
Yeah, his parents, like, he was probably right around your color, Jarrod, and if he was in the sun too much, they would be like, oh, you're getting dark. And they didn't like the sister's fiance because he was too dark. So I fit the mold.
Oh my gosh.
Yo, the colorism is not giving. What?
Yeah. And even, you know what? I won't share that.
Yeah.
Just there's something I'll hold back because people can see things. But it wasn't for the right reasons.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I remember you telling. I didn't know that was a part of the equation necessarily, but I know like the a lot of the story that you had told me, and because we always talk, so we know all of our deep
he knows all my business. Yeah, it's just there are children involved, so they don't need to learn certain things.
Yeah. So why don't we jump into our topic today? So we're going to talk about how to give in a relationship. And I think I came to the decision of talking about this. I think just in my research and in my viewing of stuff and reading stuff, like I feel like a lot of times we go into relationships thinking about what we're going to receive and not necessarily thinking about what I can do to give to this person or what I can do to kind of like make things easier or better for this other person that I'm trying to be in relationship with, whether that is friendship or whether that is romantic relationships. So what do you guys think? Like, how do we, maybe we start like thinking of like, how do we not make relationships so transactional? Because I think that's one of the things. It's like we give, but only when there's like an even exchange. And I'm just curious what you guys think about that. Huh?
I said, do we?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, like, you don't want to be the only giver in the relationship. You definitely want, like, whenever I give to my friends, it's because, they bring like so much good into my life that I want to give them as much good as I can give as well. So I don't really see it as like transactional. It's more of like a here you go, thank you, and then a here you go, you're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, but I'm saying like sometimes people will fall into, I'm not going to offer this unless I see XYZ happen or something. And so a lot of times like sometimes you can get into a transactional relationship where it's like, maybe it's, I paid X amount on the last date, so you have to pay X amount this date or something. Like it almost gets to like a petty kind of point. I don't know. Have any of you had that experience or had those thoughts of anything kind of being I mean, I know how you are, and I know you give,
like I'm a serial overgiver.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess maybe not for you so much, but I know how I am, and I know that I like to be I think it's a little bit of a protection thing for me, because it's like if I don't feel like I'm receiving enough from the other person, then I won't, like, I match energy,
Mm-hmm.
It's like that matching energy thing. And sometimes I feel like it's necessary to extend a little bit more.
Yeah, I usually just like be my usual giving self. But then when the energy is not matching, and then I pull back, and then like, wait, where'd it go?
Mm.
You made me feel special. You're not making me feel special anymore. I think that's usually what I give to relationships. I'm like, I make them feel so special. And then they're just like, okay, cool. I needed that for a boost. Bye now.
Yeah. So I definitely, the way I kind of look at things is I'm going to show up 100%. And then if you're not showing up, not matching me, because everyone's 100% isn't the same.
Mm-hmm.
So, keeping that in mind, if they're not showing up 100%, maybe they're showing up 90%, then I'll kind of back up to match that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some people who like learn more about your life, whether it's like, oh, you live in a nice house, or you drive a nice car, or whatever like the perks are about you, and then they like to capitalize on that. And I've had that between friendships and past relationships, and it's just like, I'm giving, so, and I don't mind supporting and helping, and I love giving that feedback back into friends and relationships. But when you start expecting it, or like crafting situations or opportunities for us to hang out around what I'll pay for, or what I'll drive to, and then you're like pushing like, yeah, I really want to hang out, you really want to go to whatever this event is, and I'm your ride,
right?
That's why you want me to show up.
So now there's like a taking advantage of the kindness. And what I don't like is when like you'll see some situations where it's like you'll have somebody who will give so much, and on the flip side, the other person won't do anything. Like, for example, I have a friend who will drive us around the city. Like he won't bat an eye at it. He will drive us into the city. He'll take us back out at the end of the night, whatever. So, you know, and I'm supposed to pick him up from the airport today. He asked me yesterday, and I was like, yeah, I'll pick you up. I don't care. I mean, you know, because it's just like, you don't, like, all those times, like, I would look stupid saying, like, no, or like having an issue with picking him up, like, based on all those moments that you just didn't even think about it. And, you know, it's like, you know, you pay attention to that stuff. And you also check in with the other person. I feel like when you're on the receiving end, I feel like it's important to check in with them and be like, hey, do you want me to drive this time? Or do you want me to do whatever? Because then that shows that you're thinking about the other person, and it also shows a little bit of appreciation, I feel.
Exactly. And I think that's part of the, like, everybody's 100% can't be the same. Like, if you didn't have a car, you can't offer to drive in and out of the city.
Yeah.
Right. But there's other ways then that you're, like, looking out, I'm sure, for your friends who do have the cars, like whether it's offering gas money or being like, oh, I'll cover dessert or I'll cover the tip or anything like that. So, you know, there's your 100%. That doesn't mean you're not matching them because you don't have the same resources. Like, you can still match the 100% without taking advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and definitely. So, like, when I start dating, I'm definitely, like, more semi-traditional, and I do like to be courted, you know, like, I do appreciate when the guy pays for, you know, the dinners and the activities for the first few dates. But then I like to show my appreciation for maybe then, you know, cooking them a meal. You know, like, hey, like, let's stay in. I'd really love to cook for you. Or, hey, I like, I put this movie marathon together because I was listening to you and you said that you've never watched these movies before. So I picked these up and we can watch them together.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's how I kind of like to give. I like to give more on an emotional base, but, you know, also, you know, financially, like whenever, like when we were really getting into dating, I'll say like, hey, like, how about this time I'll get like the tickets and you can buy the popcorn, or vice versa, just stuff like that. I do that a little bit more into the relationship and less at the start, because again, I'm a girl who likes to be courted.
Okay.
Yeah, I think because I've been through, like, I don't want to say done, but I'm over the, like, let's get married and, like, that whole path.
Mm-hmm.
So I go Dutch. Until we are in a very serious relationship, I am not comfortable with letting my partner pay for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And because at that point, they're still not my partner yet.
Yeah.
And especially in hetero dating, they feel like they're putting a down payment on things. And I'm like, nope, it's Dutch. We both have the same opportunities, the same choices here.
There's definitely a sense, like, sometimes there's a sense of, you owe me now because I did this for you. And that's where a lot of the mentality of, oh, now I feel pressured into sleeping with you after paying for the dinner, you know?
There are times where that definitely is a thing, but for some reason, when I started dating, you know, more grown men, I feel like they become a little bit more entitled when we're going halvesies for some reason. I have no idea why. And I feel like as I get older and start dating, like, you know, obviously older men because I'm getting older, it's usually the guys that are just like right, like, don't even think about it. They just put down their card and don't even ask me. And I'm like, you know, of course I do the polite, like, oh, are you okay? Like, I don't mind splitting. Or it's like, no, of course not. Like, this is a date kind of thing. And they're usually the most polite and respectful of the people that I date for some reason.
Do they call you back after that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm just...
No, usually they're the first ones to text me back. But, you know, like, obviously you've heard of, like, my dating fail. So, like, obviously they're, like, not perfect. You know, they still have, like, that assholiness about them. But I feel it tends to be the dates that I go and split with guys. Those tend to be the ones that actually don't really work out as well.
I wonder what that is. I mean, and maybe it's because you have a very traditional mindset going into it,
I
and then
do.
it's like a switch when there's when you go Dutch?
Well, yeah. So when we do go Dutch, I understand because like in this economy, like going Dutch, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you know, like we're single, we're probably both going on a lot of different first dates, and so you know sometimes if the guy can't pay for me on the first date, it's like not a deal breaker. But
Right, but what I'm saying is like if a guy goes out on a date with you and you're sending all of these traditional signals, and then you get to the dinner table and then you go Dutch, then to him it's like oh, she must not be that interested or something, or I don't know. And I'm not saying that that's 100% of the time, but I'm curious if maybe that may be the reason that then they switch over into like hookup mode.
No, I feel, you know, maybe, but I feel like whenever like it gets to that point where I just when the check goes on the table and I'm just like, oh, did you want to split it? And that's just how I ask, like, how did you want to do it? There's either the guy that's like, yeah, let's split it. Or the guy who like I don't even like get to ask the question. They just like slam their card down.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, I will appreciate a man who will slam his card down for me, but I, you know, I'll put my card up as well, you know. But sometimes I'll put it's weird for like male. Sometimes I'll put my card up and they'll just be looking at me like, okay, thank you.
Oh. See, maybe I'm just weird about it. Maybe that's why I don't date. I mean, I'm not on apps and stuff. I don't have an avenue right now where I can meet people to date, and I prefer it that way. But when I do, if we're going somewhere, I always say, by the way, I'm paying for mine, so don't worry about it. Like, I just say it before we even get there, whatever app or text.
But does that not put up a barrier? Does that not like allow things to happen? Or I mean, I understand. I guess maybe that's the point. It's a little bit of a boundary for you.
For me, it is, but I've still had. I mean, in a few instances, I've still had a man say, "I know you said you had it, but I'd really like to cover it." Mm-hmm. And then it's nice. Like, okay, well, like I'm not gonna like fight him to pay my part, and I'm like, all right, well, I'll get us next time.
Yeah, I just wonder if that's like kind of like cutting them off. Like when you say that, I just wonder if that's just kind of like this is how it's gonna be. So,
I mean, if they're not with it, they're not with me. So bye.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Like, I need someone who is going to respect my boundaries, and that just happens to be one of them. Because even nice guys are not always nice.
They hardly ever are.
No.
Especially if they're self-professed nice guys.
Yep.
So I don't need, after the first date, well, she didn't even sleep with me and I paid dinner. Like, I
just wonder if that comes off. I mean, and I'm just challenging you because,
devil's advocate. I hate that saying though.
But could it be a little like controlling on a certain level?
Because I'm controlling the first date.
Why are you controlling the first date?
Because nigga, no.
Oh my God.
I really wouldn't say it was controlling. I definitely just think it's just her first boundary, and like it's a good way to test if they're actually even good at taking those boundaries.
But the word test, that throws up a red flag for me because
I wouldn't call it a test either. It's just my boundary. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm owing you. I have trouble for me saying that before we start the date, like we're going Dutch. It's just one of my, like, we're already saying be there at this time. The restaurant usually dictates what you're going to wear, or at least like
only because I don't feel like you like a passive man. I don't. So when you start being the dominant person, when you put that line in the sand, and that's almost like a dominant energy from the get-go is what I'm sensing. And then it's like, okay, then if you're going out with a dominant man, then that almost could make them like backpedal a little bit.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. I try not to approach it so like we're absolutely going like
Yeah.
that. But I'm like, hey, by the way, I typically like to, go Dutch, at least for the first date.
Mm-hmm.
Like after that, we can discuss it or whatever. But we're both bringing things to the table. We're both discovering each other right now. So there's no like qualms about it. And for me, I'm trying to avoid that kickback at the end where like I don't want you to regret whatever it was.
Yeah.
And one of my philosophies is try to leave everything, every situation better than you found it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want someone to see it as like, oh, well, she spent all my money on this food and I didn't even get whatever it was they were looking for. Mm-hmm. So it's a way of coming to the table, quite literally, on an even playing field.
Yeah. I was just thinking about in my head that it definitely evens the playing field to be able just to like, actually enjoy each other's time and get to know each other rather than just like, worrying about like what is he gonna think if I pay for myself, or like what is she gonna think if I don't pay for her, just
yeah.
It's definitely like very even, like, hey, let's like, I'm a human, you're a human, like let's just talk, let's get to know each other.
Right. And it can be just a coffee date, and that's a lot easier because you're kind of like in line at Starbucks or whatever it is, and so unless you're both ordering like really crammed up there at the thing, it's very easy to do that. So I know a lot of women will be like, you're not taking me for coffee, that's not a date, like take me out. And I'm definitely a-okay, especially if we're meeting on an app and it wasn't an organic meet where we haven't seen each other in person or anything yet. Absolutely, let's go Dutch. Let's figure out if we even want to do this in person.
I definitely do pay for myself when it's kind of like a coffee date. I always pay for myself, and then like a nice walk afterwards, and then if we want to get a little bit more serious.
I mean, to me, honestly, I don't have like a hard rule about that. Like I guess personally, if I ask the person out, or if I feel like I'm the one that's initiating the date, then I typically will pay for it as long as as long as I can afford it, then I will pay for it completely. And I would like the other person to pay for it if I felt like they were initiating the date, but I won't hold it against them. It used to. But I'll be quite honest. I used to be like, okay, like you got me out here, now you're not paying. Like, I used to be like that. But I think, I don't know. I won't hold that against the other person if we have to go Dutch or whatever.
I think it's very nuanced, especially with like giving and being giving and taking. I think especially in gay relationships. Sometimes it's hard to tell who's going to pay. I couldn't do it. I would be so bad at it.
The roles are very, and then everybody wants to throw in, the top and bottom thing. Like, that means something.
That's weird.
Because now your top is supposed to pay for you, and the top is supposed to open the door for the bottom. And it's like, it's...
But then is that for outside the bedroom?
I feel like you're just
forcing... Some people think like that.
I feel like then you're just kind of forcing those hetero norms, though.
Absolutely.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
Because you're gay.
But, I guess for some people like simplicity. And I guess for some people, that makes it simple for them. Yeah. But at least in theory, because in practice, it doesn't work.
I think, though, like you'll find the person that fits what's your norms, if that makes sense, or your boundaries. And so, that guy who thinks, tops should pay will find a top that pays for him, and then, like me, a gal who, likes to be courted, I'll find a guy who likes to court me, because that is what, I find attractive. And then you'll find a nice fella or a lady, I forget, are you bi? No. Fella. You'll find a nice fella who will say, like, girl, let's split it. Let's do this shit. Like, let's get to know each other.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned something. So you were saying, if you invite, you'll, like, kind of do the payment or expect kind of for you to pay if you're doing the invite. And if someone else invites you, it's kind of on them, is the initial thoughts. So how often are you inviting versus the other person? Like, are you waiting? Do you do a 50-50 split there? Or
how often am I initiating the date? It's probably 99.9% of the time. because people are flaky and people don't actually want to go on dates.
They want
weird.
pen pals.
It's yes,
I hate that.
Yes. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think the last couple of times or last few times I've been on dates. I mean, the last time a guy initiated a date with me was pre-pandemic. It was like 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's annoying as hell because it's like, okay, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so I feel like sometimes I may come off a little bit strong because, I'm always like, there's always intention behind everything that I do. And I don't just like, oh, well, let's just talk and let's just figure it out. I mean, that's just not who I am. I'm very intentional and very logical. I like move in steps, and I know that not everybody is that way. And I don't know. I feel like I've loosened up a bit on that, but at the same time, I still am who I am. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, I feel like now I've kind of seen that growth with you too, where it's like you won't just super cut them off, but they're definitely on the like, well, get back to me when you're ready type of thing. Like you won't close the door behind them, but you're like, all right, but get out the space because I need it.
Right. Especially like the mental space, because it's just like I can't keep thinking like what if, what are we doing, blah blah blah. Like, yeah, come back to me when you're ready, boo, please, because. I can't.
Yeah, and I get tired of the men who want to be pen pals. Like when I do venture into the apps or whatever. So I'm very much for like one guy. I was like, hey, you said you've never been to Texas Roadhouse. Want to go on Tuesday? I got it. Like literally, you just have to show up.
Right.
Show up, but that's effort.
and he
You're
didn't.
just supposed to show up at his house. What are you talking about? And he didn't
wind up coming. He was just like, oh. No, and I was like, is it the day or do you just not want to go to Texas Roadhouse or do you not want to hang out? Like, I'm just like, give me the answer so I know how to move. Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, it's just, and I was like, all right, bye.
Yeah.
It was the stammer.
They just like want to keep you there. They're just like, I need at least 10 backup plans. Like, why?
Right, like I really got the impression that he wanted me as an option. I was just like, yep, no, not for me. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like, if a guy wants you, he will show you that he wants you. And, if you don't show up for a date or if you don't
respond,
if you don't, if you're not checking in and I'm doing all that stuff, then
you're giving all the effort.
I mean, regardless of, whatever was said or whatever happened, like if you really do like me, then you will show it. But if so.
Why is that
and
just so
I think
hard?
we follow those same rules because if we really like someone, we're not afraid of showing it either.
Exactly.
So a lot of the backstory with this person, but I was just like, I want to see you. And when I got this new job, it afforded me a lot of financial freedom. So I was like, let me know what the ticket costs. Because they're not in state right now. So I was just like, let me know. I got it because I want to see you.
Out.
Yeah, and I was like, that's my reward. I deserve seeing a face that I want to see. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to fly you in. But, with fly out stories, we always hear like people get there and then the one person's like, well, I didn't mean I was having sex just because I let you fly me out. That I was just like, look, so if you come, this is an itinerary. This is on the docket. If you don't want that,
cool. Be clear, this is somebody that she knew like for a while,
over a decade.
Yeah, this is not some like random. Yeah, this is not that.
But even if it was like a first meeting or something like that, and I felt that strongly, it's like, okay, yes, I'm willing to fly you out, but this is what I'm expecting. Mm-hmm. So we can get that out before the ticket is purchased. I feel like that's a lot of the issue with these fly out stories that we hear. Mm. The people wait till they get there to be like, I don't want to. And not saying you can't change your mind.
Well, wait, who says they don't want to? The person receiving the flying out?
Yes.
Okay.
They step into the airport, the ticket has been paid for by the other person. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the pushback, especially on Twitter that I've seen, is like, well, what did you think it was? There's no thinking. If I'm arranging something like that, we're talking about all of this before I'm getting on a plane, but also before I'm letting you buy a ticket.
But also, I think, even if you don't arrange everything, the expectation to like, I mean, and I'm assuming you're talking about like the expectation to like have sex with somebody, that should not be, that needs to be something, if you get there and then you talk about it, or you get there and you're both feeling it, then okay, but there's no obligation for,
and there should be also just no expectation to have sex.
Yeah, I just don't even feel like it needs to be like, and I understand like just how you are, so I know that you're not saying that this has to be it for everybody, no. But like it doesn't even need to necessarily be spelled out. I don't feel like if I'm gonna fly somebody in, I'm expecting to just get to know, like if and I don't know them. That's, you know, that's also, it's like if I don't really know you, like let me see who you are in person.
Even if I do know you.
Right.
Yes.
And under any circumstances, it's like that should not be.
Like this guy, I used to kind of date him ish. We never really had sex before. And it was 4 years ago. He found out through Snapchat that I moved to Philly. He's like, oh my God, I've always wanted to come to Philly. And he was just like, would you let me come over? And it was just like, yeah, you can crash on my couch. And he was just like, okay, yeah, cool. And like, I'm really like, I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm just like, I'm looking forward to seeing you too. We can have some fun. We can like do some things. Mm-hmm. And then he alluded to, you know, like having sex. I was just like, just because you're sleeping on my couch doesn't mean I'm going to have sex with you. Like, yeah, even if we did date in the past. And he was just like expecting it. And he just like never talked to me again. I'm like,
I feel like you offering the couch versus like the other side of my bed's always available for you. Like there's ways to lead into where the other person should have picked up the clue. If I offer you my sofa,
no, not this man. He was just like, I'm entitled to Renee's vagina.
It's a sad state of affairs.
It's a sad state of affairs.
But also, don't be the person that gets flued out and then just ghosts the person after you get a free trip.
Oh yeah, that's also very rude. That's very rude. Unless you are like concerned that they're a serial killer, then that's okay.
That's one thing.
That's okay if you ghost.
But yeah, don't go out for like a free trip. You know what I'm saying? Like don't do that.
In the gay community, is that like if you're being flown out, are those
flued out?
Flued out or just flued out?
That's the term.
Okay.
It's the term now, okay?
Oh, okay. I was like, is that
flued
English?
Out. It's not grammatically correct, but that's what we're using.
I was like, I'm old and it hurts, but okay. If you're being flued out, are the expectations still the same with like people expect you to have sex with it? Or, you know, is there a different, because I know in hetero it's definitely especially if a man is flying you out, it's expected.
I think it's expected. We have two different points of view, right? You got the guy that's flying you out, and on that side, like we said, don't expect anything besides perhaps just the chance of getting to know this person, right? On the receiving end, don't be so naive to think that that's not on the other person's mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be so naive to think that, oh, I'm just going to go and I'm not going to have to answer the sex question of whether we are or not.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
I think, like, definitely kind of, you know, maybe near the... I don't know. I've never been flued out before. So I wouldn't know when the good time is to say it. But if they are giving that much, possibly they could... Even if they aren't expecting it, they could be possibly, you know, wanting it. So you might want to just be like, hey, so I'll buy us, you know, some like nightcaps and some desserts because I really don't want to have sex with you right now. I was fine.
And I don't even know if it necessarily, like if you're like, you know, talking with a gentleman, you may not even have to say it. Like if they invite you to their room or something, just be like, oh no, that's okay. I think I've had a great night, but I just want to, you know, let's see what tomorrow brings or whatever.
Yeah.
Something. It probably doesn't even need to be stated in that. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, if I'm being flued out, Jesus, that hurts. I'm making it clear before whether I'm just like, I'm into you enough that this is a possibility, or I'm like, you know what? I can't guarantee this. So I want you, before you purchase that ticket, to understand that this might not go where you want it to go. If you still want to buy the ticket with that understanding, cool.
Yeah.
And if you don't, that's cool too, because you're looking for something that I'm not really comfortable with offering up.
So, okay, and here we go again. Natasha.
It's communication.
I hear the communication thing, and trust me, I get it, because we like the way that we think is like almost, it's scary, like we're like exactly the same. But there's a slight bit of controlling in that.
I really don't think that's controlling.
I think it is. You're not just letting. You're not like,
it's not organic.
It's not organic. He never said anything. Like in your case, he never said anything about having sex with you, but you're just going to state it up front. So now it's like,
but well, I think that also just kind of saves some uncomfortability as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, like if it's going to happen, then it happens. And if it doesn't, then doesn't that make it even better? Like if you don't have to say anything and you go through the whole thing and you don't have to say anything, doesn't that make it even a little bit better? I'm only saying this because I have checked myself multiple times for doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. So, and that's all I'm saying, because I feel like there's a little bit of, because I know that I can be like very, like, I want safety. I want a knowing of what's going to happen. You know, I want to limit anything going haywire. Mm-hmm. And I feel like maybe that's kind of the same space on some level from where you're coming from. And
I honestly, I think there's also just a level of safety, especially for women, to set that expectation, especially when flying out or having someone fly in. You really should set that expectation just sometimes for your own safety. Because sometimes if you don't discuss it beforehand and a guy flies you out and then, you know, you don't have sex with him, he could retaliate and be angry and, you know, something bad can happen. But hey, if you tell them, like, you don't have to say like straight up, like, I'm not having sex with you if you fly me out. You can just say like, hey, I would love to, if it's cool that you really want to fly me out, I would love to see you, but you know, I'd really just like to use this time to get to know you. I'm a bit more traditional. And you don't have to like outright say I'm not having sex with you, but try to set that expectation a little bit.
That doesn't, like, if safety is your issue, you saying that you're traditional does not set a safety barrier.
Okay. Well, yeah. Then yeah, you're saying like I don't want to have sex with you, because that is definitely a risk that women and people in the gay community can face. That can be pretty serious.
How many flued out stories have we heard where the people get there, don't put out, and then their flight home gets canceled, and now they're like scrambling for that last minute ticket money to get their stuff. And I mean, I guess maybe
I'm not saying y'all aren't making a point, but I'm just saying my point is that because yes, safety is an issue, and you know, the whole getting there and then not having a way to get back, that's an issue. That could be an issue. But at the same time, controlling how a relationship evolves is an issue as well. And I feel like there needs to be, and I'm feeling so much shade over in this side of the table.
Because I don't think it's controlling. It's really just setting a boundary, and it's a pretty big boundary.
Yeah, okay. I think it's the culture around being flued out. You know, some people are like, if I'm flying you out, you know what it is, type of thing. And that's not everyone's attitude toward that situation.
And I've definitely been in that situation where like I felt like a little unsafe, that if I had not left his house without like making out with him or like sucking his dick, that I would have been like hurt or like coerced to stay or like put into some danger. And that's scary. And then like the thought of it being in like another state with a ticket that they paid for, that's even scarier.
Okay.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, I've had someone who I went to New York and they were like, oh yeah, let me get the hotel room for you. But his setup made me not have to say anything, because he was like, I'm not just going to put it on my card so that like he had control of whether it got canceled or whatever. He just cash apped me the money and he's like, this is how much it is. Here,
That's
put
a
it in
great
your
way to do
name.
it.
You don't have to invite me up. This is under the guise of I want you to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was nothing there for me to be like, well, you know, this doesn't mean we're having sex, like, because he already put it out there.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe it's just a finding the person who understands where your comfortabilities lie.
Yeah.
And, you know.
And I also think, you know, like the conversations that you have prior to that means a lot as well. And so, you know, maybe that's kind of where you start setting some boundaries based on as a reaction to what they say or what they bring to you. Yeah. So, yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll let TikTok be the answer on that one.
Watch them just be like, Renee's such a fucking prude.
Well,
she expects rich guys and doesn't want to have sex with them.
You know, the interesting thing is, you know, when we have these discussions and we put them online, there's always going to be people on either side or people that see both sides. So I don't know. It's always interesting. But I mean, I totally understand where y'all are coming from completely.
I do understand your points too. Like,
I do.
You're
I
saying.
should have said that. I do understand like wanting it to be a little bit more organic and fun, but as a woman, I am like safety fucking first.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's a privilege that everyone always has. But then at the same time, it's like, well, who are you picking? Why are you going to see people you aren't safe with? And, you know, those conversations as well.
Yeah.
So to your comment, definitely the prior conversations should be setting some stages where do you feel safe? Are you ignoring red flags and stuff like that?
We did kind of get way off track.
I kept trying to bring it back to giving.
It's all right because we're gonna go back to giving, and you know there has always been this what do you bring to the table kind of conversation, and I kind of want to bring that to the table. Like, what are you giving?
I think I said this earlier.
What do you give in a relationship?
I definitely think that I said this earlier, and it's just something that I really like to do just like as a person. This is what I know that I'm good at with like giving and like my friendships and, you know, with my family. I'm just really good at listening to people and just talking with them and also just like making them feel special, making them feel heard. You know, when I say listening to them, I mean like actually like listening to them and then finding things like to do that they love doing, that like they mentioned to me one time that they you know, they wish they could have gone to Paris, and I'll literally like try to like learn to cook French food and like have like an Eiffel Tower candlelit dinner for them. And say like, hey, I brought you to Paris. I know like I can't afford us like tickets to get there, but here. And I like doing
and then
special.
They break up with you.
Yeah, literally. Week. I try so hard. Like I'm a very sentimental person.
I know. I only say that because it's like I have the same kind of mentality. I'm like, okay, I'm like filing a lot of stuff of what you say like in the back of my head, and I think you have the same kind of thing.
Absolutely.
It's like, you know, you say some things, it's like, oh, okay, I know what to do there, I know what to do there. And then it's like, sometimes you have the opportunity if you're like dating them for enough period of time, which sounds so sad. If you actually have the opportunity to like
get that second date in,
you know, regurgitate back to them, you know, some of what they said, then it's just like, sometimes it's like, oh, yeah, you're doing too much.
It's always that. But like, yeah, no, I just like, and I've been trying to kind of hold back on that, especially with, you know, like first dating someone. But I truly just like to make someone's life better through emotional, supportive, and sentimental ways.
Would you say that's like your giving superpower? Like if
honestly,
you could just like name one, just
that
like...
is my giving superpower. Just like I give people the ability to feel special, heard, and supported. Okay. That is that's like, and that's what I love doing for people that I love and care about. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah. What about you?
I am a hermit by by nature. I do go out every now and then. Like I'm out now. This is an outing. But like,
not an outing, babe.
This is actually an outing for me for sure too.
Really?
Yeah.
I drove
Oh,
across
wow.
town. I left my house. I got dressed.
Okay.
It's an outing.
I got you.
But for me, I've really worked hard to cultivate my peace and comfort at home. And so when I invite someone into that, I would love for it to be a sanctuary for them where like the rest of the world just kind of melts away and give them, because a lot of people don't have peace even at home.
Yeah.
You know, they're surrounded, whether it's like, oh, it's the bills, or, you know, oh, I really should do this or that, or, you know, any of those just things that nag you throughout life in your own surrounding. So I love being like the sanctuary, like
an
just,
escape for them.
yes, like just come. I got the food, lay your head in my lap, we'll watch your favorite TV, like, you know, creating that like a situational hug. And
Situational
That's so
hug.
nice.
Doesn't that ring? That have a ring to
I
it.
love that situational hug.
Wow.
yeah, I offer, I guess if I had to coin it, I'd say I offer comfortable vulnerability.
Oh, I love that.
And that's something that a lot of people can't find even a space to be tentatively vulnerable. So I try and give like those enough creature comforts and things like that for them to feel comfortable being vulnerable. It can bite me in the ass sometimes because I become a psychologist for them. Like I'm tending to their mental health more than they are. And so it can also definitely bite me with that, because then they're expecting that, or they get so used to that, like, oh, I'm having a bad day, let me go over there. And I don't always feel like I have that space in their life to go and do it.
Yeah.
And so that's the over giving part of you that we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah, I have realized about myself. I definitely have to be the most unstable in the relationship. Like I got to be the most mentally unstable.
Gotcha. Yeah, you know, I think, like listening to you about providing a space for somebody to be vulnerable. I think it kind of clicked for me just then. I was like, I think I need to work on that, because I am very much like, if I'm in your space, or if we're like hanging out, it's almost just like, well, if you're not matching me, then I'm like, okay, like what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? It's and I feel like on some level, like I feel like on some level that's good, but on some level it's like, I don't know, I don't know how to explain it. But maybe, I don't know, I probably need to watch back what you said and just kind of work some
Let
of
it
that.
resonate.
Yeah.
So I will be my own devil's advocate for this one. I do believe it, at least initially. I watch the context of it for myself, but initially it did come from a place of control. You can be vulnerable with me, but I am not going to let you know how to hurt me. So I would like have almost a wall up where I'm not going to be like very pointedly not going to be vulnerable with you. I know I can be trusted, so I'm okay with you being vulnerable with me. But I don't necessarily trust you, between trust issues and boundaries and stuff. I was just like, yeah, I don't think you need to see me cry. We're good. Nah. No,
I think there's only one guy I've dated that saw me cry, and he was just like so uncomfortable about it. He literally like knocked on my shoulder and was like, "It's okay." Like
Wow.
Not even like open hand, just like a full fist. Like, can you stop crying so we can have sex?
That's so wacky. Oh my God.
My flued out story of over 10 years, this last trip he was here was the first time he saw me cry.
Wow.
Really? Wow. 10 years.
We've known each other for over 10 years at this point.
He must have been taken aback.
Well, I told him, I was like, look, you're just going to hold the tissue box, because I was driving him to the airport. I was like, you're just going to hold the tissue box and we're going to pretend this isn't happening. But this is,
Aww.
and I would just be like, just tissue. And he was like very supportive in that moment, because he knew that was like really significant even for our friendship / relationship. And so I was just like, okay, maybe he can handle this. And, it was, again, part of my self journey, working on myself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're allowed to be vulnerable with people. I work on telling my friends, if you don't tell me how to help or you don't tell me you need help, I don't even have the opportunity.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I don't give people that opportunity. I don't let people do things, like even with the dating thing where I was like, we go Dutch because I don't want to owe you, is very much a self-protection thing. So I'm working on like what senses of those boundaries I do need to keep and which ones are probably just survival mode defense mechanisms.
Well, to answer my own question, I know we only have a little bit of time left in this episode, but I think my giving superpower would be, I guess, just reciprocating or at least acknowledging, like, I see you, thank you. Like, I will give gratitude for having received something, which is, I guess, weird. Like, is that it? Like,
you're appreciative. You're outwardly appreciative.
I'm outwardly appreciative. But then I also, I will extend myself. And I think maybe I could do better, even just like in thinking of that. Like, I don't need to always receive first, and I don't think that I do necessarily, but I do know that it is easier for me to give, and maybe that's easier for everybody, but it's easier for me to give more or to extend that after having received some kind of grace or some kind of favor or whatever.
Gotcha.
So
I like inspiring the smile, so I'm always like the first, like, I'm not above asking a guy out and bringing him flowers if I asked him out and paying for the dinner. Like, I'll set up the whole thing. That's fine.
I haven't gotten flowers from a guy in like years.
The only flower I got was from some random guy at a coffee shop, and it was weird. It was like one of those, I felt like I was on like candid camera or something. So it wasn't really like a romantic gesture.
I want to know what a guy would think if, like, on the first day I like gave him flowers, like, hey.
Yeah, it's just like some
flowers.
random guy came in from outside and like handed me a rose, and I was like, okay. So anyway, just to close out, like, for anybody out there who, like, what advice would we give to somebody if they need to, like, not necessarily, because I don't think, like, how do I give more in a relationship? I don't know if that's necessarily a question somebody would ask you, but
I think just find your own way to match their energy of giving. It doesn't have to be so straightforward of like, oh, well, he paid for dinner, so I pay for the next dinner, or she gave me flowers, so I have to give her flowers or something like that. Just like it doesn't have to be like that. It's more special when you find your own way of giving. And it's a lot more meaningful, I feel like.
Would you have any advice?
I would say kind of like don't make it so transactional.
Yeah.
But also don't overextend yourself in the giving.
Definitely.
So even, like I said, I started 100%, but I am very cautious now. I'm starting here, but if by the third date it's still all me, and I'm not seeing any input from them, then I know to kind of reel back, because we don't want anyone in those being taken advantage of type situations.
Yeah, I mean, I think really, for me, the advice that I would give would be to just kind of get to know the other person and get to know, like, what they really value, and try to reflect that back to them as much as you can, without being overbearing and without expecting anything in return. I think that that's important as well, because at that point it becomes a control issue, or it becomes a manipulation. You don't want to do that.
Transactional. I think that's all across the board. We've all been like, don't make it so transactional, tit for tat.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for watching this week. And please give us a subscribe, like, comment, all the stuff. Do all the stuff. And we will see you next week for our next episode. And remember, if you have no one else,
you got us.